The morning was chaotic, more chaotic than the energetic birds out in the garden. The house was a blend of chaos and laughter. Wyan darted across the living room barefoot, holding a bowl of mashed banana in one hand and a sippy cup in another. Era, stop crawling like a little commando. Come eat your food, little monkey. Her 11-month-old daughter squealed with laughter, glancing back at her for once before crawling past the couch with the speed of light. Her soft onesie that Wyan made her wear just an hour ago was already crinkled and dusty from her battlefield maneuvers on the floor. Era, stop! She rushed behind her, already tired at the beginning of the day. Ever since Era started crawling, not a day had passed without chaos. Upon noticing her mother running after her, Era giggled even louder, her two bottom teeth peeking out. She was a bundle of mischief and energy. Where do you get all this energy from, little monkey? She chuckled, almost reaching near her. She placed the bowl and cup on the nearby cabinet and crouched down to grab her. But Era changed her path at the same moment and slid under the dining table. She squealed as if she knew about her successful attempt of escape. Van gave up and sank to the floor, looking at Era. Her stamina was unmatchable. Enough of play, Era. Be a good girl and come to me. But Era, being the ever so notorious child, crawled away from her towards the kitchen and hid behind the kitchen counter. Vyan shook her head, pushing off the floor to go after her, but just then her phone buzzed. Her face lit up when her husband's name brightened up the screen. She sat on the floor, lips curving in a wide smile as she held the phone in front of her face. As the call connected, Jimin's face appeared on the screen. Hey, she greeted him with a warm smile. Hi, came Jimin's low voice, raspy and laced with exhaustion. He set the phone on a surface and stood up to make his tie. Another meeting today? She asked and watched him nodding a little. He heaved a heavy sigh as his tired eyes met hers through the screen. Never ending. Where is Era? And why do you look like you have fought a war? Vyan sighed, sneaking a quick glance towards the kitchen where Era was peeking her head out from behind the counter. Your daughter is mercilessly making me run behind her since morning. Jimin chuckled slightly, aware of his daughter's notorious acts. The moment Era heard his voice, she crawled out of her hide spot. Vine could hear her excited squeals as she rushed to her with all her energy. She crashed at her sides, chanting Pa like a mantra. Vine chuckled when she clumsily fell in her lap to see her father. Jimin's face lit up when she came into his sight. He left the half-made tie and slid onto the couch in front of his phone to take a closer look at her. There's my sunshine. Show Pa your teeth, huh? She giggled and opened her mouth wide, flaunting her two bottom teeth. Her cuteness melted her parents' hearts. You're troubling your mama, naughty girl. But she was too busy reaching for the phone as if trying to touch him through the screen. Wyan held her back, holding out the phone away from her reach. Jimin's tiredness was wearing off seeing his two girls in front of him. They were his motivation to keep working hard. I miss you both so much, he spoke with a heavy sigh. This hotel room's been my cave for 2 whole weeks. I swear I've started talking to the mini fridge out of loneliness. Vyan chuckled, eyes softening as she watched her husband's tired expression on screen. The dark circles under his eyes insinuated his exhaustion, but his face morphed into a smile whenever Era shrieked his name. I'll try to wrap up everything in 2 days and come home. I need cuddles from both of you. Vyan smiled, her heart warming at his longing. Inside, she was already brewing a plan. We missed you too. Hang in there. Jimmy nodded with a slow smile and laughed when he saw Era tugging at her sleeve to reach the phone. After the call ended, Vyan put Era down and retreated to get her food. Now we'll be good and eat our food, right, Era? But as she turned, Era had already disappeared to explore the world. A tiny Soxley abandoned at her place. My little explorer. Wine packed everything in a whirlwind: diapers, bottles, wipers, toys, and a change of clothes for both of them, all set to give a surprise to her husband. Era, sensing the excitement, squealed every time she put anything in the bag. By the time Wine stuffed everything in the car, Era was beaming with happiness. Be a good girl, okay? We are going to meet your pa in a few hours. She patted her head after buckling her in the car seat at the back. As if Era understood what her mother was saying, she started clapping in excitement. You are more pumped up than I am. After pressing a kiss on her forehead, Wine hopped into the driving seat and drove off. Half an hour into the drive, she was babbling to a plush elephant like it owed her lunch. Wine glanced through the mirror and laughed softly. An hour in, she fell asleep, clutching the same elephant who had been a victim of her non-stop chatter. Wine turned on soft lullabies and drove, humming softly. After 2 hours, she woke up hungry and dramatic, demanding attention. Wine pulled into a rest stop, where she refused to drink milk unless she recited to her a story of a princess and her unicorn. By hour 4, she was all tired and fussy. A plush elephant was thrown off with an angry cry. Wine stopped at a red light and looked back at her. We are almost there, baby. We're gonna see your pa soon. She patted her head gently. As she turned around to drive, her tiny sock flew across the gap between the front seats and landed on the lever. Wine glanced at her and shook her head when she found her pulling her other sock. The hotel lobby smelled like citrus and money. Wine carried Era on her hip while pulling her luggage. She looked around, mesmerized by the luxurious interior of the hotel. Era's head was slung over her shoulder. The tiny being was exhausted after a long journey. Hello, ma'am. Jung, Jimin's assistant, greeted her with a polite smile. She had already informed him about her surprise visit with a clear warning not to tell Jimin about this. Hello, little ma'am. He smiled and poked Era's cheek. She stared at him for a moment before turning her face away. She takes time to warm up with strangers. She cased her bag, holding her tightly in her arms. Junghyun smiled, reaching out to hold her luggage. Let me help you with your bag. He carried her bag and escorted her towards Jimin's suite. Sir is still in the meeting. He'll be free in a few minutes. You can rest till then. He unlocked the door, leading her inside a vast room. Please make yourself comfortable and call me if you need anything. He left after putting her luggage inside the room. Inside the room was neat but clearly left in. Files scattered on the coffee table, Jimin's jacket slung over the chair, a family portrait of Wyan, Jimin and Era was placed on one of the bedside tables. It hadn't been long when her phone pinged with a text from Junghyun informing her about Jimin's arrival. Wyan gently set Era down on the carpeted floor in the center of the room and kissed her cheek. Stay here, baby. Be your cutest self. Pa is coming. She patted her head and tiptoed to the balcony, hiding behind the sheer curtain, heart pounding like a teenager planning a surprise proposal. A few moments passed, then the door clicked open. Jimin entered, muttering to himself as he tossed his phone and suit jacket on the bed. He rubbed his temples, clearly exhausted with the back-to-back meetings. God, I miss my wife and my daughter. He paused. When his eyes landed on the tiny humans sitting in the middle of the room, his body froze and his lips parted in shock. What? He breathed out, struggling to believe that his daughter was sitting in front of him. Then his whole face transformed. Era, he whispered, a smile breaking through the exhaustion. My little dumpling, he rushed to her, dropping on his knees in front of her. Come to Pa, my angel, he called. Hand shot out to pick her up, but Era blinked at him, confused. She frowned, whimpered, and then shoved his chest with her tiny palms. Jimmy's heart sank, seeing his daughter pushing him. He blinked and stood up, holding her in his arms. What's wrong, my princess? He spoke softly, afraid as if he would scare her if he spoke any louder, but Era squirmed in his arms, shoving his face away. Jimmy's frowned deeper at her rejection. What made his daughter react this way? Did he smell bad, or did he look different? Hey, look at me, princess. He kissed her palms, trying his best to make her calm down, but she pushed him harder and burst into loud cries. Jimmy's face fell as her loud wails filled the room. What? No, no, baby, it's me. I'm your pa. He pleaded, shocked, swaying side to side to soothe her. Vine appeared from behind the curtains and scooped her in her arms. Era quickly curled up against her chest, sobbing softly. Jimin's side gaze lifted from Era to his wife. I'm sorry, she's cranky, hungry after a long ride, jet-lagged in baby terms. He looked from her to Era and back, visibly deflated. His daughter pushing him away wasn't even the last thing he ever imagined. He doesn't even recognize me anymore. His voice was low and small, laced with sadness. Van kissed his cheek, still caressing Era, whose cry had died down. Stop thinking about all of this. She'll remember after food and some hugs. Order something, yeah? Jimin nodded. He made a quick call to order food, his longing gaze still lingering on Era. He approached Vine and side-hugged her, pressing his lips on her temple. I missed you. He halted when Era let out a scream. Vine and Jimin exchanged a glance as she lifted her face off Vine's shoulder and tried to sweat off Jimin's hand. Jimin's jaw dropped in utter disbelief. Excuse me, little lady, she was my wife before being your mother. You can't stop me from touching her. He held her even tighter. Era let out another scream, clawing at his hand. Her nails scratched his skin. Oh my god, fine. I'm not touching your mother. She's all yours. He removed his hand and stood a little away from them. Vian chuckled slightly when Era huffed and hugged her, encircling her little arms around her neck. I used to be her favorite. Now she doesn't even like me. I swear I'm not going on any business trip after this. He grumbled, folding his arms, sulking like Era did sometimes. The three of them settled on the couch. Jimin sat a little away because Era wasn't liking him sitting close to her mother. The room service arrived. Pasta for Vian, coffee for Jimin, and boiled veggies for Era. Jimin sipped his coffee watching Vian feed Era, who ate as if she was starved from ages. Once her tummy was full, she looked at Jimin. Squirming out of Vian's lap, she crawled across the couch and climbed on Jimin's thighs willingly. Jimin bit back a smile as he narrowed his eyes playfully. I'm still upset with you, young lady. You made Pa cry a little inside. As though she understood him, she gave him a toothy grin that always worked on her father. Jimin's heart melted instantly, but he looked away, keeping up with his little act. She cooed softly. Jimin inhaled a sharp breath, barely holding himself from embracing her. Vine happily munched on her pasta, her husband and daughter keeping her entertained. Era's little hand clutched Jimin's shirt tightly as she stood up shakily on his lap. Jimin's eyes were shot out to hold her, but before he could say a word, she bit his nose. Oh, what? He shrieked in surprise and pain when her sharp bottom teeth sank into his flesh. Vaya laughed under her breath as Jimin gently separated her and rubbed his nose. If you won't give her attention, she'll take it herself. She chuckled, glancing at Era, who was happily hopping in Jimin's lap. Jimin couldn't help but laugh too, pulling her into a bigger hug. Okay, I forgive you, nose biter. Later that evening, the three of them walked along the beach just outside the hotel. Van had her sandals in one hand, Jimin's hand in the other, while he carried Ira in his arms like a princess. "It's so peaceful here," she whispered, leaving his hand only to wrap it around his biceps. Jimin smiled, pressing a kiss on top of her head. Van took a seat on one of the deck chairs while Jimin and Era played in the sand. She laughed when Era collected a fistful of sand and threw it at Jimin. "Hey, naughty girl, stay put, I'm building you a castle." But the castle didn't last long when Era smashed her palm on it. Jimin watched with open mouth as his sand castle cluttered into a heap of sand. "Era, what did you do? I was building it for you," he whined while Era just giggled mischievously, proud of her little act. "I'm making it again. Dare you to ruin it this time." He turned his back towards her and again made a sand castle for her. But this time too, Era outsmarted him. She crawled to his front and threw the castle, crushing it with her knees. "You stop, you little monkey." Vine laughed as Era squealed and rushed to her. She hid her face in her chest as soon as she picked her up. "You both will be punished now." Sliding an arm under her knees and one at her back, Jimin picked Vine in bridal style while Era stayed nestled in her embrace. "Jimin, no way," she gasped when he carried her towards the ocean. "Vine, yes way." He walked into the water with them. As he put them down, Vine splashed water on him. Jimin did the same. Era flinched and squealed with delight when Jimin splashed water on her. By the time they decided to return to the hotel, their clothes were damp, hair wine swept, and cheeks ached from laughing. By the time Van stepped out of the bathroom after changing her clothes, Jimin was asleep on the bed. Ira was nestled on his chest, snoring softly. She smiled and walked over to them. She covered them with a blanket, pressing a kiss to their foreheads. Stepping out on the balcony, she took a deep breath. The moon was bright in the sky. A gentle breeze blew past her. The silence seemed serene, peaceful. A few moments passed before two arms snaked around her waist. Her smile widened when Jimin placed his chin on her shoulders, pulling her back against his chest. "Did I wake you up?" He shook his head, nuzzling his nose in her hair. "Surprised me in the best way," he whispered softly, his warm lips brushing against her cheek. She turned in his embrace, facing him, and encircled her arms around his neck. That's what wives are for, to surprise their husbands in the best way possible. He chuckled when she poked his nose. Wine frowned when she watched his lips curving in a mischievous smile. He slid his hands to her thighs and swiftly picked her up. Wine gasped in surprise, her grip tightening around his shoulders. He glanced back at Anna, who slept peacefully, surrounded by pillows, and back at his wife. "Era is sleeping," he whispered suggestively, leaning closer to her face. So, Van raised her eyebrows, already aware of his intentions. "No one is there to disturb us." "Shut up, Jim, and put me down." She shoved his chest, but the blush on her cheeks gave her away. "No, please, let me kiss you before the little third wheel wakes up and screams at me for touching her mother." Van's face flushed, but she didn't push him this time. Instead, her palms curled around his collar to pull him closer. Their lips met, soft and slow at first, then they paused and smiled before deepening the kiss. The longing, the frustration, the quiet ache of staying away for 2 weeks. They poured it all in that one kiss. When they parted, flushed and breathless, Jimin pressed another peck on her forehead. "I'm the luckiest man to be loved by two most beautiful girls, and even more fortunate to be the one to love and cherish them." Her heart warmed at his words. Could she get any luckier? In response, she leaned closer and pressed her lips against his again.